Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island area fishing report for October 25th. Hey, we're joined by our usual crowd. We got Tom, Lee, Gentry, and Tracy joining us to talk fishing on their favorite lakes. We'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Hey, we're checking in with Lee Pitts right now. We're going to talk a little bit of fishing on Weiss Lake and Neely Henry. Hey, let's start at Neely Henry again right now. Lee, we seem to kind of shortcut that one just because it's been so good. Anyway, Lee, what's going on Neely Henry?
Well, you must be a mind reader because Neely's fishing a little bit better right now. So
Ah,
that's something good we can talk about. You know, the river system down there, and it all deals with current. We're having a little bit of wind, but right now the wind is kind of helping us some. Crankbait bite's been pretty good. We're looking at a spinnerbait's coming into play right now. The buzz bait and the spook bite has been a little slow this week. But I think these fish are really starting to get where they need to be. Been throwing a frit side some and a DT6, catching a lot of fish. You just got to dig in them and work for them to try to get that better fish. Later in the day, the sun gets up. You get around these boat docks. That spinner bait's been good, and even still pitching a little creature bait and just a straight tail worm has been pretty good down there.
all right, what about the crappie bite? It's getting cooler. Is that starting to pick up?
It's getting there. The cooler weather, like right now, I'm out here on the water. I'm looking at, you got 67, 68, so it's getting down there where it needs to be. They're starting to get on the dock poles, which I know everybody loves to shoot docks.
Mm-hmm.
I know us there at Bobby Garland, we love for them to use those baby shad and slab slayers on those docks. So it's getting that time of year that the fish are starting to get up a little shallower, that 5, 6, 7 foot of water. Now they're getting in that 4 or 5 foot of water. So that's good. They're starting to get where they can get under that dock, get out of that sunshine, and they're just trying to feed up. So dock shooting's good, and still fish out on the main lake, on the brush cover, on the creek channels, catching them that way also.
All right, let's turn to Weiss Lake. What's going on there? We got about a minute left.
Weiss has been a little slow this week. I think we've had those bluebird skies here. We've had water levels are down about 2 feet, I guess, foot and 3/4, something like that. Still a lot of fish out on the main lake. The smaller fish are getting up tight on these flats. Once again, crankbait, rattle trap, spinnerbait, catching them that way. A little bit of top water, but they're not wanting to chase that buzz bait like they should be. Even a spook, I've thrown a spook quite a bit trying to force feed them that, and they just don't seem to want it. You'll have some roll under it, but the better fish, they're coming. I think the cooler weather is going to help that. I know we complain about the wind so much, but a little bit of wind right now, once again, that wind, a little bit of current positions these fish where you need them to be. The gravel bars are still looking good. They're trying to get up shallow. The bait's here. The big fish just need to follow.
Brother, we appreciate everything, and I know that crappie bite's not far behind, but we'll talk about that again next week. Talk to you soon. Hey, we got Gentry Gordy joining us after fishing that Alabama Bass Trail at Wheeler Lake this past week, but he's been staying in touch with his lakes. Gentry, what's going on at Martin and Jordan this week?
We'll start at Jordan Dano just because it has picked up a little bit. A lot of the baits moved into those pockets, especially the ones a little bit further up the lake, like the shorter, deeper pockets up there. I guess you can see those bait balls up there. I haven't really got them to commit to like a spook or nothing. They're still down up under it, which is what we usually see this time of year. It's getting cool, but it hadn't got cool enough. So dropping a minnow down on them and stuff like that is getting the better bites. You can see it on your live and stuff. As soon as that minnow gets below that bait, you'll see the big fish will come up and start to eat that. Tried throwing an Alabama rig through it. Talked to a friend of mine that's been up there. It's just hard to get them to commit. Now, when you do get one, it's a good spotted bass. But dropping a minnow down's been the best thing up there. And you know, up the river in some of the pockets, of course, the tail race we talk about every week. That's always there, especially with a little bit of current. But outside of that, down on the lake, keep a spook handy, but they're just you're not going to catch a good limit on it just yet. I mean, you'll get some good bites, but really and truly, it's running a square bill or a chatterbait. Something in that 5 to 6 foot range has been best.
You hear anything about the crappie around there? The bluegill,
Uh,
stripes, anything?
yeah, no, I've seen a guy and talked to him, and he was out closer to, some of the deeper docks over on the left hand side of the lake, shooting them, and said he's catching some fish, but the big ones are not up there. But a lot of solid little keepers that they put in the cooler.
All right, let's talk about Martin. We got about 45 seconds left. What's going on there?
Martin's getting a little bit better, Dano. The water's falling. So when that water's falling like it is now, the square bill bite's starting to pick up a little bit. You can get bit on a buzz bait, but it's to get a better bite on a buzz bait, you need to bring it over a shallow brush pile. Not every one of them, but your better fish will come up meet a buzz bait if you can. If you can see that trash pile in front of the dock, that's the right depth you're looking for. A popper, stuff like that around some of those shallower docks will get them to commit to it coming out from underneath it. But really and truly, the square bill, on just kind of turning up the mud has been a better bite. Still catching some fish on a shaky head and a Texas rig straight tail worm on some of those deeper rock, points that we talk about. Other than that, hadn't seen much schooling activity. I did talk to a guy up there though that he's doing the same like the guy was at Jordan. He's shooting some of those deeper docks for the crappie and catching some pretty good fish doing that.
Brother, we appreciate everything, and we'll talk to you again next week. Hey, we got Tom Mott, who is traveling for work this week, but man, he spent some time fishing over the weekend before he left. Tom, tell us what's going on that big lake in the sky up on top of that Tennessee River, Guntersville.
Well, that's the promised land as far as I'm concerned, and things are really starting to. I can't say pick up because they've been so good for so long, but we really have had the weather has fallen into place. Everything's been really perfect for us. So last weekend, the fish were extremely active. We had that front come through and everything like that. So the moving baits were definitely the deal. The flipping bite was a little slower, the frog bite was a little slower, but things like a spinner bait, I heard Lee talk about a spinner bait. Spinner bait's been really hot. A quarter-ounce trap, half-ounce trap, and the old blue and chrome, is just tearing them up. So those are the things that I've really been concentrating on. Not catching a lot of big fish, but catching a whole lot of fish. So I'm talking like a 50 fish day. I mean, it's been incredible right now. And that's not moving a whole lot, just kind of staying around, that I would say 7 to 4 foot range, something like that, 8 to 4 foot range, but around grass edges, points of grass, those areas where the bait's really concentrated. But those fish are just extremely aggressive right now. And I would anticipate that going at least another couple of months, maybe even through January, who knows. But it's just been really, really good. Now, the crappie, we were looking for those to really start to move in and everything like that. It seems like that's been just a little slower. So I keep saying they're coming. But they're still coming. They're not here yet. It's kind of just a little bit slow. We got out last week again, looked for some crappie, found a lot of fish sitting on stumps and still in that 12 foot of water, though, a little bit deeper. I like to see them when they get up into the creeks, get around the grass where you can catch some of the big slabs. And right now, I'm just not seeing that. We caught one big fish and then a bunch of 9 and 10 inchers. So it's just not the type of crappie fishing that Guntersville's known for, but it's definitely on the way. And I'm sure that some guys are out there whacking on them. But just for me, I'm just giving you my experience, so that's all I can say about that. This weekend, I'm going to be driving really fast back to Huntsville. We're going to get out there. We're going to hit it again. And, man, I can't wait.
Well, brother, man, as always, we appreciate everything. Please travel safe, and we will talk to you again next week, my friend. Hey, we got our good friend Tracy Robinson joining us here. Going to talk a little bit of fishing on Logan Martin and Lay Lake. Tracy, tell me what's going on down there in that Central Coosa River.
Well, Central Coosa River this week's kind of been an exciting week. We've got all the Major League Fishing. We got all the MLF guys in town this week, staying over in Oxford. So it's a good chance, around here between Wedowee, Logan, and Lay to kind of see a lot of the pros in here fishing. So a lot of excitement this week. But as far as Logan, where goes for fishing wise, it's still fishing about the same. There's not been any really big weather changes. The water temperatures, slowly dropping down, in that upper 70s range. But the fishing's still good. The topwater bite's still good here. I heard some of these other reports, not as good, but the topwater bite's still pretty strong at Logan. A lot of schooling activity still seeing the white bass and the largemouth and spots schooling out on the flats. 3 to 5 foot maybe, but just the flats. Find the bait, throw the top water out there, and there's a lot of bites to be had out there. What I am seeing a little bit more of though is the dock bite there. I've seen some of the largemouths kind of staging on some of these docks right now. Chatterbait seems to be the better bite there around some of these docks. Just basically not even under the docks, just paralleling the sides, parallel and throwing across the face of them with the chatterbait 3 or 4 feet under the surface and catching a few pretty quality largemouth on some of the docks. As I'm getting around these docks, I'm seeing a lot of the crappie on the brush piles under these docks. I'd say 5 to 10 foot deep, and passed a couple of docks where some guys were drowning minnows out there, and they were catching a few fish off the docks themselves. So seeing that dock fishing pretty good right now. Seeing a few fish on the crappie on the brush piles, out between the docks, out in that still in that 5 to 10 foot, any brush, but especially under the docks. Paralleling the banks with crankbaits, a little bit of an angle. There's square side crankbaits, catching a lot of fish too, anywhere from 8 ounces to 2 or 3 pounds. So just a lot of different sizes of fish, not any really big giants, but there's a lot of fish, kind of staging up on those rocks between the docks there. So that's kind of 3 key things that I've seen from the bass, and a lot of the crappie are piling up under the docks.
Does that kind of go for both Logan Martin and Lay Lake, or are we still kind of wanting to turn a little bit differently when it comes to Lay?
Lay's still fishing really good in the grass for the bass. The weights are a lot higher there. The water at Logan's dropping and the grass bite's dying. Lay it's staying a lot more stable, so that grass bite's holding on still pretty strong. On the crappie at Lay, it's still kind of the same general concept. You just don't have the volume of docks that I was referring to at Logan. So the crappie guys that I'm seeing catching them out there are targeting specific brush piles. They're still in that, I'm gonna say 7 to 10 foot range right now, but they're targeting those brush piles and catching all they can off of one brush pile and then moving on to the next. It's not as much dock oriented as Lay as it is Logan.
Brother, we appreciate everything, and we will talk to you again next week. Well, that'll wrap up our Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, October the 25th. Hey, thanks to the guys for helping us when this weather is transitioning. These lakes are kind of in flux. They help kind of keep us on track. Stating on being on track, we got parts and service to help your boat keep going. And then we've got the boat you're looking for with Katie, Patrick, and Melissa. And of course, if you're looking for tackle or sunglasses or apparel, come see us in the loft with Colin and Jamie. We got what you're looking for. Thanks for spending the time with us. You're the best part of Bucks Island, and we appreciate you.